All right, well, welcome again. Good evening. This is a development activities meeting in Oakland. We are now going to pass it over to the applicant team to present their project.
Thank you. Are you able to see my screen, Christian?
Yes, looks good.
All right, thank you. My name is Ryan Baum. I'm with Subtext. I'm joined today by Richard and Brandon with our team, as well as Chris and Deanna with C3, who are our architects on the project. I'll flip through our presentation here. We've got some additional information beyond just what was in the CDAP information, which was shared with everyone. And then happy to answer any questions once we've been through it. So we are Subtext. We're from St. Louis, and we're a full-service real estate company. We do everything from development. We have design and construction oversight, property management, operations, and marketing, as well as investment professionals. So we kind of have the full suite of services, and I think that's important because we take accountability for every step of the project. So, what we're presenting here today, the team that's presenting to you is responsible for the project through completion, and we sit right next to the people who are going to be operating this property upon completion. We work across the country. We've completed 24 projects to date. Over 14,000 residents have been served by our properties, and we're a top 3 student housing developer in the country. One big focus of ours is just the way that we serve the residents, that we don't just think of this as putting a building up. We're creating a place for our residents to live their lives, be the best version of themselves. And we do that everything through the service we provide to those residents, the research that goes into our properties prior to even constructing them, just going that extra mile for what we're doing for them. And then another key part is just providing what we call places for all headspaces. So just mental health initiatives are a key part of what we do for the residents that live in our buildings. So every piece of programming and design choice that we make, we try to do that with the resident in mind. We're design driven. So it's great to be here with C3 as our partners. These are a few of our most recent projects that we've delivered. So we do really take pride in the design of the exterior. We know this is kind of the part a lot of the community is going to be seeing, and we take a lot of pride in it, and we like to have an elevated design. So I'd like to start just with a foundation of, with this being a neighborhood meeting, these are the benefits that we see of our project bringing. A really key piece of this, given the proximity to the university, is we'll be providing about 650 new bed spaces for residents that are going to draw people out of the neighborhood into this high-rise structure and reduce the impact of that overflow that puts pressure on the neighborhood. So just preserving owner-occupied housing is a key tenet of this location and this type of project. All of the properties that we're building on are student rentals, landlord owned. So we're not displacing any current residents, and we're drawing, students and young professionals out of the other housing stock in order to reduce that pressure on the owner-occupied housing. As part of being in the IZ, we'll have 10% affordable housing units incorporated into the project. So discussing this with OPDC, we see a lot of opportunity for, direct markets that we can serve here where they see the highest need, whether that's, staff that works at the hospital or other people throughout the community. So we look forward to executing a program for those affordable housing units that really provides the best benefit for everyone. Another key thing is in this area is very tight sidewalks. So we've really invested into creating the space for improved sidewalk and streetscape. So just that pedestrian experience can really be enhanced, and have been working with staff on the best way to achieve this and have that street presence be really nice for pedestrians. And then as part of our height request, we're having an all-electric high-performance building to obtain 2 bonus points. And this is something we do as sort of our standards. We have high efficiency fixtures throughout our properties, a lot of Energy Star rated appliances within it. And this was a fairly good leap for us to go to that next step with another level of high performance and all electric to reduce the sustainability impact of our project. So from there, we'll move into just a perspective of the site. So we are between Atwood and Meyran Avenue at Louisa Street. So we're about a block off Forbes. You can see here from all the density that runs along Forbes and Fifth corridors that the scale of the project fits in pretty well here. When you get to this part of the neighborhood, it's primarily a renter who is living in the surrounding area. So we feel like the overall impact is fairly modest, and this sort of extension of the higher density buildings there is pretty natural. Here's the site footprints. So we have the half of the block between Atwood, Louisa, Meyran, and Senate, not including the UPMC parking lot. So all of these residential properties here are included as part of the project for demolition and redevelopment. This is the existing properties. So everything is 2- and 3-story, low density student rentals. There's one commercial retail shop on the site, and the remainder of them are all student rentals. This is a shot of the site plan of what we're proposing. So the project is 9 stories, 95 feet tall, 299 units, and providing 168 parking stalls. You can see from going through the open space requirements of the zoning, we've been able to create these enhanced sidewalks. So we have a few different areas here. We have a mid-block cut through here with some substantial landscaping along it. And then we've got an increase. We've basically doubled the amount of the sidewalk from its current condition all along Atwood Street and wrapping around to Louisa. And then the remainder of these areas actually have, at level 2, they have balconies that overlook the street. So it still gives you that pedestrian scale, even along those other areas of the building. It's a donut shape with a central courtyard to provide additional open space reserved for residents. Looking at traffic and parking. So the way the site falls off, Atwood Street is about 1 level higher than Meyran Avenue. What this did was allow us to put 2 levels of parking below grade with a single point of vehicular access along Meyran. We've also been able to wrap the garage along Meyran so that from someone walking by, they're generally just going to see residential units with the exception of the garage entrance itself. And then we've also included 165 indoor bike spaces. And as a standard, we also include e-bike and scooter charging within those bike rooms as well. 5% EV parking is also a standard of ours. I believe it's a city standard that we're meeting. And then we'll also have 25% EV capable to expand that infrastructure if there's demand in the future. We completed a traffic study that's in review with DOMI right now. The conclusions of that are that there are not a significant impact to the roadway network. They studied the intersections all the way from Forbes down to Bates along both Meyran and Atwood. And all intersections would maintain a level of service A or B. And what we see anyway is that most trips in a location like this are going to be pedestrian in transit. just given the nature of the location. And here you can see why the bicycle and transit networks are fantastic in this area. So we are wrapped by bicycle shared lanes that have direct connection to dedicated lanes that can take you all the way through up north through the rest of the neighborhood. And then from a transit perspective, there's multiple routes surrounding here for University Shuttle, as well as the Forbes and Fifth rapid transit lines. One item we've been focused on a lot with our construction partners that we're engaged with here is the construction logistics and the potential for impacts to the neighborhood during construction. So we've had them lay out what they feel like is a good preliminary plan. This shows the property being served by a tower crane in the center of the site, and then proposing the closures to be primarily parking lanes. So a parking lane, taking a parking lane along Atwood and a parking lane along Meyran, with the traffic lanes remaining open, and then using Louisa Street with a single lane closure, taking that down to one-way traffic and no parking to be sort of the primary area for truck access. The floor plans, this is at level 1, which is the primary access at Atwood Street. So this is going to be that main residential access point, as well as the most enhanced from a streetscape perspective. You can see that generous sidewalk that will have landscaping and a really nice environment here. The first floor is primary lobby and amenity fronting Atwood Street. So this is where we'll have a gym, a club room, the staff offices and things like that. That'll provide a lot of activity along Atwood there. And then the units from there will wrap around the entirety of the building. And like I mentioned before, as you get down to Meyran, you're actually one level above grade at this location. And we'll have some balconies there that'll overlook the street and provide that nice pedestrian relief. So here is a shot of the renderings that we've developed for the site. So they've done a really nice job of breaking up the building into these sort of different modules. So it's almost serves like a few different buildings to give some relief to the mass. And then you can see that streetscape with the ability to have some enhanced seating and landscaping through there. And we've got those street trees lining in all directions. And then here's a shot that's looking from the other direction. So this is looking along Atwood from the UPMC side, with another shot there of just the scale. And then we do have a little bit of rooftop patio programming planned as well. You can see that peeking over. So that is our presentation, and I'm happy to answer any questions or revisit any of the information.
All right, thank you for the presentation. We appreciate it. We are now going to move on into the questions and comment portion of the meeting. Before we do that, we're going to check on someone in the waiting room to make sure we're letting in someone that's an attendee, not an issue. So we'll work on that. But otherwise, there's a few ways we can do this. If you have a question or comment, you can use the question and answer tab and type out your question. If you'd like to speak your question out loud, you can use the raise hand function, and we'll invite you to speak out loud. So, okay. So yeah, I'll give everyone kind of a moment to reach out. We will start with a quick question we have in the chat from Mavis, and it's a question about the construction schedule. If you could speak more to that.
Yeah, it would be a 2-year construction schedule. we have a number of steps to go through still before we get there, between advancing the design and permitting, and getting through the plan commission. So we would anticipate a mid to late 2026 construction period and a 2-year time period from there.
Great. Thank you. Another question in the chat is, what are the facade materials?
Right now, the materials are EIFS, and then masonry, where a lot of these areas you can kind of see here. So using that masonry as the strong foundation. And that's a lot of where the pedestrian is going to interact with. And then using EIFS as you move up above, which allows us to give these really interesting blocking shapes that you can see here and give some really interesting scale and texture to the building. And we like the EIFS as well because it's one of the most energy efficient facade materials because of the application of insulation and how tight you can get that insulation. So it's for those reasons and along the way, how it contrasts with the masonry. We really like those material combinations. So that's what we're looking at here.
Right. Next question, we have one in the Q&A, and it's from Haley. It says, how many individual buildings are currently in the area of the proposed construction? Have you already acquired the tracts of land?
We are under contract with all of the properties, and it's I think about 16 properties over 5 property owners. So 5 property owners are who we're working with, and we are under contract with purchase agreements for all of them.
Next question from the chat from OPDC. Can we talk a little about the opportunity for activating street level retail, if not immediately, perhaps in the future?
Yeah, we can keep the conversation going. It's been something that we really tried to work into here early on. And unfortunately, it's been one of the things that's had to get peeled out. I think we've done the best we can to activate that street, especially along Atwood there. But as far as having retail right now, we don't currently have it planned. And it is top of our wish list of something we can try and cram in.
What is street level then?
Street level is Atwood, as the primary street level is Atwood, where the main entrance is.
No, but it's just all lobby and apartments?
Oh, it's the so this is going to be the fitness center, the lobby, club room, and then we'll have like resident services, mail, package rooms, and things like that. And there, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the next question you probably saw, it has to do with asking about rooftop activation.
Yeah, we have a rooftop patio planned. That would be some deck seating, some yard games, and that type of thing.
And then the next question, asking about stormwater capture plan.
We're using vaults in the garage, so capturing all of the required stormwater detention within the garage.
Question from Sean with Obid, asking about if there are any accessible units.
Yes, everything would be the code required ADA units would be incorporated. I believe it's 2%.
We have a question from Tim asking about what is the expected unit mix? How much is for students versus other kinds of residents?
So any resident, anybody can live in our properties. So we are welcoming, and we think especially given the location with the hospital, you are going to see quite a few young professionals who live in these. So it is not just for students, despite the location and the programming leaning towards that demographic. So we'll have our 10% affordable units that'll contribute to that variety. Some young professionals we see anywhere from in the similar properties in this area, we see anywhere from 10 to 25% be young professionals. We'll probably lean more towards the 10%. And then the remaining would be student. The unit mix is made up of I think it's about 15% for studios and one bedrooms. We've got 2 bedrooms and 3-bedroom units as well.
And that kind of gets at Liz's question on there. Perhaps you could follow up with a breakdown of the unit types.
Yeah, Deanna, if you have it available, I'm happy to
Okay.
take and share.
Great, thank you. And then we'll kind of go to Sean's question about asking who maintains the landscaping.
We would have our property management team maintain any of the landscaping within the right of way. I think if the question's geared towards any new landscaping in the public right of way, that would be open for discussion.
Another question about some housing developments rent by the bed. Do you plan to rent by the apartment or the bed?
We will rent by the bed.
Question from Liz, will there be 24/7 property management on site?
We have full-time property management. We're usually about 7 or 8 employees actually that would be on site. And then overnight security is part-time, so maybe 3 or 4 days a week with overnight security filling that gap. And then you'd have those limited time periods during the week, the kind of less busier times during the week that we see, where we would have no overnight presence. But other than that, it is full-time property management on site.
Right. So we've kind of made our way through all of the questions at this point.
Christian, I think Deanna, did you have that unit breakdown, Deanna?
Yeah, I do have them. I can quickly just run over. The studios is about 4%, 4.07% of the unit. One bedrooms are 3.9, which is almost like 4%. We have 2 bedrooms, about 20% of the units, and the 3 bedrooms are the most, which is about 72% of the units.
Is that by the bed or by the unit?
These are by the units. So 3-bedroom units are the 72%. If you're looking for I can probably put a snap of the the percentages in the chat also.
No, well, we can follow up, Christian.
Okay, or we can follow up with
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that sounds fair. There was another question that popped in about if parking will be an extra fee.
Yes, parking would be an extra fee on top of rent. We've got parking. So 168 parking stalls for the approximately 700 residents.
Ryan, if you want, I just found the unit mix based on the units, if that's better.
Yeah.
So we have about 10% studios, about 10% one beds, 20% two beds, and 60% three beds. And obviously that's rounding, but it's close enough. I can put it in the chat too if that's easier.
And yeah, 712 beds is the more accurate number in total, as of what's been submitted so far.
All right. Well, it looks like we've made our way through all of the questions, all the written questions. I guess I'll give a last call to any final questions or comments.
Christian, I was wondering if you could do us a favor, please, and explain for the record what the zoning envelope here permits, both in terms of height, massing, setback, uses, all that kind of thing. Just a quick summary of what RMU and the particular height envelope for this block looks like for the benefit of folks who have questions.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah, that's
requirements within this area. Just a
yeah,
little.
that's definitely something we could pull up. I don't have it completely off the top of my head. But yeah, if you give me a second, we can pull that up. And maybe while I'm doing that, Ryan, you could maybe, I think you mentioned about the performance points or the bonus points. If you could maybe touch on that, that would be great.
Okay. And I do have this. It may not give that full picture that you can expand on, Christian, but this might be helpful. This speaks to the setbacks that we've got. So the high limit here is 45 feet, and with the application of 4 bonus points, we achieved the height at 95 feet limit. So then the setbacks that we've got here, kind of a key thing is that you do step back within the as you kind of move up the building. So this is kind of what's carved out, as we explained, where you got these larger sidewalks as it wraps the corner. That gives you that nice break in scale as you move up the building. And then as you move further up, we've got these areas carved out here. So this would be level 7. This is where we carve out additional square footage consistent with the zoning. For us here, we're putting a dog run into that level on level 7. And then as you move up, we've got some additional open space terrace on level 9 that's attached to some indoor amenity space that would overlook the neighborhood. And then here's that rooftop programming that we had noted before. So that's kind of where how the zoning works and how you kind of get as you kind of carve into that initial volume to meet the zoning requirements.
Yeah, no, thank you. That's very helpful. Yeah, I just checked on the zoning map. Yeah, in this district that covers a portion of central Oakland, the base maximum height is 40 feet, as you mentioned. The maximum with bonus points is 95. Using bonus points, gaining for 1 point, gaining 15 feet in height. So that's kind of, I think you mentioned 4 total. If you look to kind of the north of the site, getting closer to 5th and Forbes, those heights increase. It looks like the max kind of next door goes up to 120, and then once you get to the 5th and Forbes corridor, that maximum with bonus points goes up even higher to 210. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of context for the heights And this would be, complying with the zoning. Yeah, and I think as you mentioned, another element that, is important to this zoning is the step backs. As the building gets higher, it kind of steps away from the property line. And based on our zoning team's review, they are looking at the proposal in line with the zoning. And I'll just speak generally, it's their understanding that there is conformance related to these dimensional standards.
And then those bonus points, as we noted, are the affordable, 10% affordable component, which are worth 2 bonus points. And then the all electric high performance building systems, which is another 2 points.
I think Trisha, I think you might be unmuted. We're hearing some feedback here. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, I think we resolved it.
Sorry to be beating the horse here. I was in the process of writing a very long comment. So much easier to just say it aloud. Christian, if I'm getting some concerns from residents who are a bit farther to the south here and asking about the height, like does this set a precedent and so forth. And I was just maybe you could just explain how the height envelope shifts over the course of the same zoning district. It's lower closer to Dawson than it is closer to Forbes, and there is a kind of a steady step back. Just if you could mention that.
Sure. Yeah. So the height overlay is can kind of go at a block by block level. So it's not like there's uniform height throughout central Oakland. It does, as I mentioned, it steps up closer to Fifth and Forbes. It does step down. So blocks kind of southeast of Bates Street is a lower height than this district that we're looking at now.
There was also a question about the parking minimums. And I know, Ryan, you explained, but I was wondering if Christian could just explain real quick what it is that the city's expectations are about parking minimums in central Oakland.
Yeah, I mean, generally, there is a reduction as part of these new zoning districts. This would be I believe, the residential mixed use. It's a certain percentage. Don't have it off the top of my head, but that's what is allowing the reduction in the parking.
So it's 0.5 per unit. So for this 300 units, 150 stalls would be the requirement. And we're providing 168.
Or mentioning maybe will not be available for.
Oh yeah, that's the councilperson makes a very good point. Worth repeating for folks in the back that this building, like every residential multifamily building in this zone, is not eligible for RPP, meaning that people whose addresses are in these apartment buildings are not able to request permits for on-street residential permit parking in these zones. So in case anybody is, that's different than the current arrangement in which each of these structures in this area here is a single family house and does make the residents of that address eligible for RPP permits. When this goes in, nobody at this address will be able to apply for a permit area D sticker.
Thank you for sharing that. It's a good point.
We are anticipating questions that we will receive. Will the existing permit
Yeah,
area?
that's a good question. Yeah, that's something that we could maybe look into. I don't have an answer off the top of my head on that.
I
I
think
think
from a available curb space, I believe it'll be pretty much maintained the same linear feet of available curb space to parking. I can't speak to how the city would want to manage that.
For anybody who's not intimately familiar, there are a number of curb cuts on the Myron side of this property. And then, of course, 3 curb cuts plus the Yorkway entrance from the Louisa Street side. So yes, this will do away with, on the Louisa Street side, any of those parking spaces now. All of those will be available. And I think that your access to the way you described it, Ryan, on Myron, uh, doesn't change it substantially from the way it is now in terms of the number of spaces. And there's no change on Atwood.
So we should end up with more problems.
There will be, in other words, probably about the exact same, possibly a couple more on-street parking spaces when this building is complete, and residents in this building will not be eligible to park in them. I think to clarify your question, like Liz's question is whether or not the existing permit areas will remain. Any effort to rezone or redraw the boundaries for the permit areas is a completely separate undertaking that would require a completely separate permit process, public process to discuss. So it has nothing to do with this development. And at the moment, I am not aware of any such initiative, so.
Yeah, I think that sounds fair, and we can definitely monitor if we become aware of any such process.
People in Oakland do want their parking.
It's a lot of commodity for sure.
For sure.
Well, thank you for that discussion. I think hopefully that provides some more context with the zoning. Thank you for bringing that up, Andrea. Otherwise, I think we'll call it a day, if that sounds good with everyone. All right, thank you all. Have a good evening.
All right, thank you all. Appreciate the time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.